I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. Today, I want to talk about why it's important to understand the types of buy-sell agreements. I think when we start working with our clients or discussing buy-sell agreements, there's a lot of issues that we have to discuss, and there's a lot of decisions that our clients have to make. I when we're looking at buy-sell agreements and a client wanting to transition their business, it's when is it appropriate to have that transition happen. It's part of the buy-sell agreement. It protects us. Think about having a backstop, whether that sell happens now or happens 20 years from now. We've got that mechanism in place. So, we've got the win covered. Typically, when we're looking at a buy-sell agreement, we're identifying who the buyers are going to be. It's business partners, it's maybe an owner with employees, but we have the buyers to the business already set up. So if I have a partner, I know that if there's a triggering event, then whether I die, whether I leave the company, my partner's there to buy me out. And all of the terms are there. I think this is where we need to be spending a lot of time in the buy-sell agreement, is understanding how those terms will affect everything. Do we have a set price? Do we reevaluate the price every year? Do we have a formula that determines the price, and do we have the right terms? And as interest rates change, I know a lot of buy-sell agreements have a set interest rate in there. Well, if we look at it, 7% might be a good interest rate to have in a buy-sell agreement today if we're using an installment note. Go back 5 years ago when we had really low interest rates, maybe a 4 or 5% interest rate would have been more reasonable. So making sure that we have the right terms in place are important. However, I also want to go, a little bit deeper today and talk about the actual design of the buy-sell agreement. And this is important because there's multiple ways to set up a buy-sell agreement. And whether it's a CPA or an attorney, a financial advisor, somebody may have a bias for one type over the other. So it's good to understand what types of buy-sell agreements there are. So there's really three. There's cross-purchase agreements, there's redemption agreement, and then it's what we'll call a hybrid agreement. So let's take a deep dive into each of those so you understand why the type of buy-sell agreement it may be a better fit for your clients, one versus the other. So let's start with the cross-purchase agreement, because I think a cross-purchase agreement is probably the more basic and the easier one. But there again, when I say basic, don't get caught up thinking, oh, this is just for a small client. We could be talking a business worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and a cross-purchase agreement might be the right way to set up that business. It's just we're looking at, is this the right fit for the owners, and do we have a limited number of owners? But in a cross-purchase agreement, think about this. Let's say we have two business owners and they want to set up their buy-sell agreement. Well, they can come together and put that buy-sell agreement in place. And if it's a cross-purchase agreement, the company is not part of that agreement. So let me go back through that again. The agreement is between, in this case, the two business owners. The company is not a part of the agreement. So what will happen is, let's just say business owner one dies. So business owner one dies, the document says that business owner two will buy out, owner one's, heirs. And the document says, here's how you do this. What I like about a cross-purchase agreement, it's simple. It's very straightforward, but from a tax perspective, owner two in this case gets a step up in basis in the interest that they bought from owner number one in the transaction. So that's important. If owner two, let's say, pays, $1 million for that remaining interest from owner number one, now owner two has an additional $1 million basis in the business. So if they sold the business the next day, their basis is higher. They're going to pay less capital gains because they got that step up in basis. Now, let's look at a redemption agreement to compare the two. With a redemption agreement, let's again take two owners of the business, but now the company is part of this agreement. And so the company's part of the agreement. We have all the owners or shareholders of the business. Now, if there's a triggering event, by that I mean a death, a disability, somebody just wants to retire or walk away from the business. Whenever one of those triggering events happens, now, in this case, comparing it back, owner two is not buying out owner number one. It's actually the company is going to redeem owner number one's stock or interest in the business. So it's a redemption by the company of that owner's interest in the company. Now, what's troubling here is owner two, if owner two's their surviving partner here, owner two did not get a step up in basis. Didn't get a step up in basis in that interest that was bought out. So what'll happen, let's just keep an easy example here. Let's say the company's worth $2 million. Owner one owns 50%, owner two owns 50%, and owner one dies. So now the company redeems owner one's stock, and owner two decides the next day to sell their interest in the company. Well, if they sold it for $2 million, they only have $1 million basis, their original basis in the company. They'll owe capital gains on $1 million. Compare that back to the cross purchase agreement. If owner two had bought that interest from owner one for $1 million, owner two sells it the next day, the basis would have been $2 million. So owner two doesn't pay any capital gains on the sale of the business. So a redemption agreement is more favorable if we have a lot of shareholders, a lot of owners of the company. A cross purchase agreement works better a lot of times when we have, a limited 2, 3, 4 types of owners. Now here, let's go to probably what I think is the real answer, and that's a hybrid agreement. With a hybrid agreement, we're going to put options into this agreement. Option number one is the surviving shareholder or owner has the option to treat this as a cross purchase agreement. If they don't treat it as a cross purchase agreement, then option two, and option two is a mandatory option. So option two says there will be a redemption if option one is not selected. So what happens is, if I'm the surviving shareholder, I get to decide, do I want to treat this as a cross purchase agreement and get a step up in basis? Or do I want the company to go ahead and redeem owner one's shares in the company? So it doesn't affect at all, does not affect owner one that has left the company, either from a death, a disability, a retirement, doesn't affect them at all, but it does affect potentially the remaining shareholders, the remaining owners of that company. What I like from this is there's options. And the more we understand how these options can help our clients or may affect our clients, future taxability, we just want to make sure that we understand the options so that we can guide our clients through the whole buy-sell conversation and help them do what's best for them. So if you have questions on this, feel free to reach out. Happy to talk about it. And if not, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.